Now, this is very important for your quiz. Which will be the first thing Thursday morning. What day is today? This is Wednesday, so tomorrow morning. So I don't know how you do quizzes here. I sent it off, and they're going to get it to you. I think it comes on your computer. I don't know. But this is very important. This is the outline of the book of Revelation. So basically, and I've shown it to you in an animated way, and I've shown it to you in a chart way. But just in your mind, think about the fact that the first 3 chapters are all about Christ's church on earth. Jesus is visiting the church. He's walking around the church. The first 3 chapters, the church is on earth. Okay? Then all of a sudden, there's this dramatic shift in everything. And we go from these churches struggling with sin and everything else. All of a sudden, we see this rainbow-encircled throne that looks like one of those fair exhibits where they have the electric, sparks coming out of the ball. That's what the throne looks like. There's lightning proceeding out of the throne and rumbles of thunder, and there's fire pillars going, 7 of them, burning like giant torches in front of this throne. And then we see the majesty on high. So things have changed. And that's the second part. Revelation 4 and 5 shows the church in heaven. And they're actually getting down on their faces and bowing down. I shouldn't say we. Because when you get to chapter 4 and 5, you're looking at the future. How do we know that? Because Jesus said it in verse 19 of chapter 1. He said, I'm going to show you the things which will come in the future. So we're actually seeing ourselves in the future. You want to know what you're going to be doing in heaven? One of the clear things we're going to be doing is bowing in wonder in front of our Creator and Redeemer and Judge and worshiping Him. So that's the second part. Then all of a sudden, the anvil, boom, hits the tribulation events. That's the biggest part of the book, 6 to 18. Now you notice, in the second event, there's a little bit, did you notice it says Revelation 4 and 5 under Christ Church in heaven, and then it says 19, 1 to 10? All of a sudden, the church shows up again in chapter 19, getting dressed and ready to go on a trip to Jerusalem. Jesus, in chapter 19, gets everybody at the banquet and gets them all ready, and it's the only time heaven is emptied. How do we know that? Because Jesus said it in Matthew. He says, when the Son of Man comes and all the holy angels with him, it's the only time he empties heaven. That's his second coming. And he brings all the angels with him and all the saints. Jude saw this, remember, quoting Enoch, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints in the book of Jude, quoting Enoch. So we see the church twice, 4 and 5 and 19, 1 to 10. But at the end of the tribulation, the fourth event starts. That's Christ's second coming. That's the second half of chapter 19. And then we have the earthly millennial rule. Now, everybody, I want to show you something. If you are from, like I met someone that told me they were from Holland, Michigan. I thought, wow, you need to mark this in your Bible because that's kind of like the Christian Reformed Church capital of the world. And one thing that one half of all Christianity believes is there's not a millennium. They're sure of that. Isn't that interesting? Let me show you something, what it says in chapter 20. And it says in verse 2, and he laid hold of the dragon, that serpent of old, the devil and Satan, and they bound him for, does anybody have your Bible open? What is the last 3 words of verse 2? Read it out loud. Anybody have verse 2 of Revelation 20? Does anybody have a Bible in the room? There we go. Good. Now, don't forget what you just saw. Now look at verse 3. And they cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal on him that he should not deceive the nations anymore until the... Very good. That's the second time. Thank you. If this was a traditional classroom, I would give you the apple. You know how the teachers give the students give the teachers the apple. I'd give you the apple. Thank you. When the 1,000 years were finished, but then he must be released for a little while. Then I saw, verse 4, thrones and those that sat on them and beheaded for the beast. And it says at the end, they lived and reigned with Christ for... it's the third time. We've found it for the third time. And verse 5, and then the rest of the dead did not live again until... Did you know that the word millennium is not in the Bible? Okay? That's what the CRC, that's what Martin Luther, that's what Calvin said. That's what the Methodists say. You know what I mean? That's what the Anglicans say. That's what the Roman Catholics say. They don't believe in the millennium. They're amillennialists. Word of Life, by the way, is called a dispensationalist school. You all know that, right? Because you know the doctrinal statement and everything and had to sign that you agreed with it or something. You know what I mean when you came here. What's the difference between the covenant, Holland, Michigan, covenant theologians, the Reformed Church of America, and Word of Life? What is the principal difference theologically? One group does not believe there's a future 1,000 year. And we're only on the fourth time. By the way, it's more than 4. It's 6 times in this chapter. It says 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000 years. Okay. The difference is the covenant theologian people do not believe there's a future for Israel. The dispensational people that read the Bible just believe that 1,000 years means 1,000 years. And did you know 28% of the Old Testament talks about what Israel's going to be doing during this period that's in... By the way, if I ask you, where do you find the millennium in the Bible? Look on the screen and tell me what chapter and verses it would be. Everybody read aloud what's inside the parenthesis on point number 5. Chapter, verses. So if you're ever talking to someone and they say, do you go to that school that believes in that millennium stuff? Did you know that word's not in the Bible? You go, oh, I know it's not in the Bible. I've read the Bible a lot of times. I know it's not in the Bible. Well, first, that's very disarming to them. They go, oh, I thought you believed in the millennium. I said, oh, I do believe in the millennium because when the Bible was translated into the Vulgate, which is into Latin by Jerome, who lived in Bethlehem in the 3rd century, when he did that, he translated the Greek into Latin, and the word for 1,000 years is mille annum. M-I-L-L-E means 1,000, and annum, A-N-U-M, in Latin means years. So just like the word rapture is not in the Bible, right? You've learned that, right? The word rapture is not in the Bible. You can use your Logos, and do you guys still use Logos? It's not in the Bible. Neither is millennium. But both of those words come from the Latin translation by Jerome of the Vulgate, which the Catholic Church still does. And that's how they got into our language, okay? So what is in the Bible is harpazo. I heard Mark Strout talking about it yesterday, right? You guys were listening to him too. And he used that Greek word. But when you translate harpazo in Greek into Latin, it's rapturos. Oh, there's the rapture. It's the Latin translation of the Greek word. And when you translate the 1,000 years in Greek into Latin, it's millennium, which is the millennium. Okay, number 6, the final rebellion. That's the second half of the chapter in the Great White Throne. And then finally we get to heaven.